Hello everyone, Zelleranth here, and for today's video on Umamusume, we have a lot to talk about as we have the summer camping event dropping tomorrow, and with that comes two new Umas, the camping version of Mejiro Dober, as well as Taiki Shuttle, as well as three new support cards, the free one being Stamina Zenorab Roy, and then we have Wit Matakani Tannhauser and Guts El Condor Pasa. That'll be the gacha support cards. And just like all my videos, we'll be taking a look at this event, all the rewards you're going to be getting, as well as whether or not you're going to want to pull for either the Umas or any of the support cards that will be available with it. And with that, we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So right off the bat, it's your typical event, nothing really changing with it. All the rewards being the same. The main thing you really want to make sure you don't miss is the 2 rainbow shards. So you can slowly work your way to getting a Rainbow Crystal for upgrading your SSR support cards. And then the free SSR support card coming with this is going to be Zenorab Roy Stamina. So this card right here is not all that good, but it does have one singular purpose. Now, it is a stamina card. I mean, it gives you decent stat sticks. It has race bonus 5% for using it in Track Blazer, but ultimately this card is pretty bad overall. There's a lot better options in terms of parent making when it comes to cards, but it does have the gold skill Clairvoyance. The one value on this being it's literally the only support card that'll ever have it. El Condor Pasa being the only Uma that has it. Absolutely terrible skill being an increased field of view skill, but that one potential use could be for potentially any field of view debuff skills that you might want to think about using that activate in the early race, which there's really not all that many that are all that good. So and I don't even know if there actually is any at all. Not thinking off the top of my head, but ultimately this is the only way you can get it. So ultimately just don't miss it. So you always have availability to this if you ever really need it, which you should never really need it. So it's free. Just make sure you get it. And with that, we'll go ahead now and take a look at the Umas and then the support cards in terms of whether or not you want to pull. So with the first Uma here, we have Mejiro Dober camping. So with her, we have stat bonuses of 20% speed, 10% wit. These ones to me are always kind of awkward, especially when we kind of move into other scenarios where wit and speed are going to be like the main support cards you're using. So I like my bonuses elsewhere, power being the biggest one, making it much easier to max out. With the 20% to speed, it really can be tricky, maxing power without having all that leakage in speed off of your speed cards. She's a typical Dober, though, with her A in my turf, mile, medium, and late. Can be made into pace or even front, with her being front C. Can do longs easily as well. Long F will take a little bit of work, needing 2 inspirations, but she can also do that pretty easily. Now, when it comes to her unique here, so unlike the other one, which was a very strong one as an inherit, this one is more focused for her herself as an Uma. So it's not really an inherit in that respect, but it is if positioned in the mid-pack on a downhill just before late race. So you're already seeing a key part in this. This is now another track-specific skill. It's focused on tracks that have the downhill just before the late race, which is, of course, the one that's coming up. Hanshin is the one that has the big, long downhills and all the different tracks. And there's a large distance left to finish, so another condition on top of it. That large distance being 500 meters. Enjoy race to the fullest, increasing velocity. So, I mean, it's got your positioning of being in the mid-pack, 4th through 7th in this case, on a downhill, 500 left. She gets a 0.35 speed increase for 5 seconds. Not a terrible skill altogether. Should be fairly reliable to trigger to a certain extent as a late surger. Really depends on the makeup and whatever really the meta is going into the CM. But it's that track, it'll be pretty easy to activate there. And I believe Kyoto is another one because she has it built in. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember all the tracks off the top of my head. Hanshin's the main one I know that has the downhills, though. But in her kit, she has Kyoto Race Course, Fearless, Take a Chance. You can see it's like all medium stuff, mostly medium straightaways. The one nice thing that she does have, well, she has 2 nice things. One, she has the Gamble medium from the Brink. So this one alongside like on your left, especially when they get buffed so that they're the first half of late race versus the entire late race gamble, be a little bit better as a gambling medium skill. But she also has Dauntless in her kit. Right now, Not real easy access to this other than kind of that whale banner that had Seeking the Pearl Speed, which is not all that good of a card. Her having it just built in gives her access to that as a late surger specifically. Also has Full Throttle. And I believe, this one's a new skill, right? I don't think this one's, yeah, so the Full Throttle is a new one coming into here. Now, it will be on Throne, as I just looked there. But she has it built into her kit. Now, when you kind of come down to the other stuff, she actually has another skill we're not going to really see any access to for a while, being the Downhill Speedster skill. And so as you can kind of see here when we look at it, it's not going to be out on a support card realistically to get until El Condor Pasa. And I think Winning Ticket Steampunk will be the next UMA that has it included. But yeah, so if you want to try and build this into your parent lineage, kind of like Restraint, although I don't really care too much about this one more so than Restraint, she's the one to do it. I'm not saying to put in the effort for it, but she has that for getting a speed increase on downhills, which will be nice, of course, on the tracks where it has its value, but definitely not worth the effort to try and get it built into parents at this point in time. But that's pretty much her kit here. Now, when it comes to her, when she eventually gets evolutions here, she makes Dauntless. I think it lasts longer, right? Yeah, it makes it last longer, as well as her other one here for Dauntless, which is like the secondary buff she'll get later, makes it just a big speed increase, gets rid of the acceleration, which ultimately the acceleration doesn't do as much. I'd rather just have a lot more speed. Even like if you're approaching the late race, you can get speed carryover to make up for not having the acceleration. So pretty nice on that. And you have both options basically. Make it longer, keep the acceleration, or just have a big speed increase instead. Then we also have the evolution from the Brink. And so this one, during the first half of the final leg, if you're not in the front, your acceleration increase. This one is, I believe, makes it longer, right? Same thing, yeah. Makes it a lot longer, from a 1.8 to a 4 second. So if you hit this perfect timing with the evolution, going to be very, very strong. Overall, though, to me, she is being a track-specific UMA, and to me, not even really meta for that track-specific. A lot of UMAs when you think of like Ines Fujin for Tokyo 2400 being very strong ult for that one, and being very good herself if you can make her strong enough to be the one in the lead. This one, there's so many UMAs that have so many skills that can work in the same way that this one's, to me, too specific. But if she's your Oshi, she's going to definitely work quite well. Now, I will say, like on the upcoming, CM, while she can be good, one of the inherits you're going to want is the Mejiro Dober one. So a lot of times you're going to want Mejiro Dober's inherit on your late surgers, and thus you have to lose affinity to get it on her. One of the kind of negatives there, but not too terrible if she is one you like to play. Now, for the next UMA, we have Taiki Shuttle. She's going to be the UMA that you're probably going to see a lot of people pulling for if they are deciding to pull on this banner. And she is a fairly good UMA in her own right, although to me, more of a side grade than a complete upgrade to the OG Taiki Shuttle. It's going to primarily rely on the track. And with that, we'll go ahead and look at why that is the case. Right off the bat, we have a stat bonus 30% power. I really like to see that, especially when we're getting out of Track Blazer and you really can't use power cards for quite a while in terms of trying to build your aces. And so being able to bring a lot of speed cards, which we will be in Grand Live for sure, you'll be able to just make sure you get a lot of power without having as much leakage on too high of like maxing out your speed and then only hitting it specifically for power versus just getting a lot of power off the bonus. Not too big of a deal on wit. You should be bringing your wit cards and they should be carrying you on their own right. So I really like those stat bonuses there. And it can help alleviate you, especially if you're needing to bring some stamina sparks for going into some of the longer races and not worrying about missing out on power too much. Now, on the aptitudes, we have the typical Taiki Shuttle aptitudes, A, turf, short, mile, and pace. But she also has B, dirt, so she can do dirt. Very easy to do mediums as well, being medium E. So very good overall there. Now, when it comes to your unique, it's like kind of on the different side of things. The OG one being an acceleration that, depending on the track, can get some carryover acceleration. In this one, though, It's going to be a late race speed, and it's if positioned towards the front with 200 meters remaining, increase velocity. But if you're positioned near the leading Umamusume, gather strength to move slightly forward. And so this is basically that last part is what you're really wanting to get off of it, because without that, at the 200 meter mark, if you're basically fourth or higher, or not fourth, second through fourth, you will get a 0.35 speed increase. So kind of weaker than a Triumphant Pulse in that own right. And it's already closer to the end of the race, being 200 meters. But if you have the second condition met, you get the second one up top, which is everything down here. But you also get an increase to current speed. And so current speed is different than target speed because that's instantaneous speed. Your Uma doesn't have to accelerate up to it. They just immediately are 0.15 faster. And at 200 meters, that's ultimately what you're going to want more so than anything else, as you've probably seen it with plenty of CMs where your Uma barely loses. And if they just had that little extra oomph at the end, it can win them the race. And so that's really good overall on her. And this one, to me, is a little bit more useful on more tracks than, say, the other Taiki. The other ones is an acceleration, so if the timing's not right, it's not good. You can fit her on pretty much most tracks. Now, I will say at 200 meters on, say, like a medium, or if you really want to work for it on long, not going to be as valuable, because usually by those, generally it's not going to be that close at the end. It's more going to be, to me, work really well on, say, potentially your sprints or your miles. And the miles more specifically based on the rest of her kit. Had a lot of similar stuff we have to the OG one, continuing to have Mile Maven. We have Mile Corners, Pace Chaser Corners. Really nice to have both corner skills in her. But then she has Neck and Neck built in, which is very, very nice. As I've shown before, Neck and Neck, not really having many opportunities to get it. We just had the Die with Scarlet Power, which was, as I said, power cards are going to kind of die off. And then we have the more whaley card that will have value in the future for Neck and Neck with Chaos Miracle, but not having to worry about this, as this is more of a whale card for getting Neck and Neck on future CMs and League of Heroes. She just has it built right in, so both skills really good for Miles overall, especially when Neck and Neck gets its buff, when we see all those gamble skills getting buffed to where it's the early portion of the race versus just the entirety. So less of a gamble. So pretty good there. But then you come down to, you have the typical stuff that she has down here from like her secret event that you can get on her. And so you have like Light of a Feather, which is really good for sprints, as well as everything else here. Now when it comes to evolutions, when we get evolutions, she has No Holds Barred, the evolution to Neck and Neck, which this one, it's kind of funny. I swear they do this to the really strong skills. We see this with like Encroaching Shadow. Increased field of view. Doesn't really do anything. And I don't believe it changes anything else in it. There's no condition change or anything to it. It's literally just field of view. And it's because it's already really strong in its own right on her. And then her buff to Mile Maven, though, which is the 3 seconds 0.35, changes it to a 0.45. So you already know how strong this skill is. And a lot of people rebuilding their Umas with the Taiki Shuttle speed card for the mile. Now it's even bigger speed. Really, really nice overall on her. And so I think she's pretty good now. We have so many big things coming up. So Summer Maruzenski, Light Hello, and all that. She's, to me, she's not like an overwhelming meta Uma in that right that she's a must pull. So she's not an Oshi. Pretty easy skip, kind of going alongside with Mejiro Dober. But if you're pulling, I mean, she's the one that I feel like is the stronger of the two on this banner. But that's going to be the Umas for that. Now we'll take a look at the support cards coming out. And the first one's going to be Matakane Tannhauser Wit. Now this one is, I know some people that are really liking this card that are going to pull hard on it, but I don't think it's worth the pulls, especially with what we have coming up. But the biggest thing this card has, it's a decent stat stick. We'll take a look. You have speed, bonus, initial speed, 5% race bonus, which not really all that good for Track Blazer, but if you're pulling at this point, you're really looking more past Track Blazers. We're getting really close to Grand Live. And Wit cards are going to continue to hold their value. Special Priority, Wit bonus 1. But her biggest thing is with her unique, she does an additional 5 recovery alongside the built-in 5 we see with all Wit cards, which basically, when you start getting those friendship bonuses on Wit, you get 10 instead of 5. So very good for resting, but it is a very gambly card. I would say this one would be a lot better if it was much higher special priority. If you had like Kitasan Black level special priority, this would be really strong in being a way to continue to generate a lot more energy off your Umas. But that's the main thing going on the stat stick. When it comes to other stuff here, nothing crazy, but the biggest thing is she is now our next instance of a way to get it on. As I said, power cards are going to fall off for building aces going into Grand Live, as well as Grandmasters, and I don't even think it's a good in Lark yet. They eventually will make a comeback, but at that point, we're going to be past the point of the value of this. And so Muteki is outside of being a parent card, pretty much going to be dead going into the next scenarios. And so we have her, and then we don't see it again until Gentle Donna Speed. So that's kind of the main allure to it to me, but you're sacrificing a lot. I feel like a lot of the other support wit cards are much better. And then Ramp Up is good on its own right. We really don't need it. But here, as you go through this, you get that. You get Flustered Late Surgers, and then guaranteed it's on, depending on the gamble of it. You can get a lot of stats off of it as well. But to me, pretty easy to skip this support card. If you do randomly, like to me, it's one of those ones, if you randomly get it off banner, that'll be good for parent making, for trying to get Ramp Up built into your parent chain. Outside of that, not worth it, in my opinion. Now, the next one we have Guts, El Condor Pasa. Now, Guts, really going to not be using it potentially until the Sprint in Track Blazer, and then we don't see Guts really come back until Grandmasters. But when we take a look at this one, the first one is gain training effectiveness for every support card in the same training facility. Now, this is like super strong if you get super lucky. The key thing being super lucky. If you're going like a Guts build and they all hit Guts, you're getting a lot of training effectiveness on top of it with the friendship bonus. You have the initial Guts, really starting initial friendship gauge. Special priority, though, not really the best for trying to get her on Guts. We've seen that with a lot of the Guts cards. Guts bonus 1, but she does have 10% race bonus, so you can use her in Track Blazer for basically Sprint. The last one's Sprint one. And then fan bonus 15%, nothing too crazy there. It's your typical El Condor Pasa. If you've probably you may have used the power card, typical skills we have there. Her biggest thing, though, being a Speed Star on the Guts card. Now, that's a big downside to me because a lot of you have pulled Fine Motion, and you can get Prepared to Pass off your Fine Motion Wit card, which you're still going to need to bring your Wit cards. But it's not a gamble. The biggest thing is it's not a gamble. But the thing is, this card is very skippable. It's really only going to be good, in my opinion, for this one Sprint CM as a Guts card. And there's so many other options that work well enough. And yes, you do have to gamble for Speed Star on Fine Motion, but it is what it is. You have Summer Maru Zensky, El Condor Pasa Speed, Light Hello coming up, a lot of good potential Umas coming up that it is not worth it to wail out on this banner. Do not waste your pulls. Yeah, pretty much. Well, I usually at the end of the video I like to kind of give my thoughts on it, but I kind of already given it here. I feel like both of these are skippable. And so realistically, this should just be continue saving. I mean, June is the save month. We're going to be getting hammered with a lot of big stuff going into July with Grand Live coming up. We have Summer Maru Zensky. We have Grand Live. For those that want to get Kopano Ricky for Dirt. There's Seeking the Pearl, which will be a good sprinter and miler. There's a lot of good stuff that'll be coming after your carrots meta-wise, that everything here is easily skippable, outside of don't miss the free Zeno Rob Roy stamina card, just so you don't lose access to your gold clairvoyance if you ever need it for some reason on a debuffer. But that's going to be pretty much it for now, and if you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps, and thanks for watching.